All right, that's rolling. All right,
I don't know if you can pen. I think it's always centered.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So start right from the beginning again.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tatiana Miles. I'm one of the Makerspace coordinators for the lab in Irvine.
And I'm Jillian Mack. I'm a 3D printing instructor for the Makerspace Academy, as well as I run a 3D printing service with G-Code 3D.
And this is the introductory video on how to use the Lulzbot Mini 3D printer.
This is the software that you're going to be using for the Lulzbot printer. The software is called Kira. Lulzbot has its own version of Kira. This software, the software that you're going to be using for the machine is called Kira. Lulzbot has its own version of Kira, so all of the settings are already implemented for this particular machine. There are going to be some tweaks that you're going to want to do. This model here is something that you can get from a variety of locations. You can create your own using different 3D modeling softwares, or thingiverse.com is a huge hub where you can find a lot of free STL files. Once you have an STL file, all you have to do is load model and go to the directory, find your STL file, and it will load up in the center of your build volume. Now, when I scroll out here, you're going to notice I have this green shape here. That is your build area. That is the limitations that you have for this particular printer. That being said, you do want to kind of avoid the edges. I would recommend not going any farther than these exterior squares here. That way there's some room for error on the build plate itself. The larger your prints are, the more room there is for failures as well. Now, navigating through here, you can rotate around your item. I'm holding down the right mouse button and I can pan or orbit around my model. I can scroll in and out to take a closer look. This is important because later on we might need to use additional settings in order to properly. Using the middle mouse button, you can scroll in and out. This is important because eventually you might have to add additional settings such as support materials in order to make prints successful. On the left-hand side here is all of your different setting options. There's quite a few options, but we're going to focus in on the basics. The first tab here, basics, which we got to by clicking on expert, and we are in full settings. The very first one here is layer height. Now, the printer is capable of switching between a very thin layer height and a thicker layer height. The thicker it is, the quicker the print job is, but the more obvious it is that each of those layers are going to be standing out. The thinner the layer is, it's going to take a lot more time. There's also a little bit more room for error, but if it's something really, really small that you want a lot of high details with, that would be recommended. Now, the average is going to be about 0.2, 0.25. Shell thickness is the exterior of your print job. So that would be, if I go into a different mode here, I'm up in the right-hand corner, normal, going down to layers. This view here allows me to see the inside of my print job. So on the right-hand side here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see what shell thickness is. So this right here is our shell thickness. It's the exterior of the print job, or the mesh. The reason there's two different colors is because of how thick our shell thickness currently is. If we had this thinner, the nozzle size on the machine is 0.5. If you ever forget this, you can go to the advanced tab and it's listed right there for you. So with a nozzle thickness of 0.5, the absolute thinnest shell thickness you can have is 0.5. So if I change this setting, you'll notice that there is only one line going around my object now. It's recommended that you stay around 2 shell thicknesses, which would equal 1 millimeter. You can make it thicker or thinner, but there is a little bit more room for failure if you do go thinner. So I'm going to change that setting back to 1 millimeter. Retraction should always be enabled. Retraction should always be enabled. The reason being, every time the hot end moves from one portion of the print to the next, we don't want the filament to be constantly spewing out of the nozzle tip. Retraction releases pressure from the nozzle while it's moving, and then it will reposition itself on a different section of the print job without any of the goo. The next setting we have is bottom and top shell thickness, or layer thickness. So this is how many layers are going to be resting up on top of all of this interior stuff, which we haven't gone over quite yet. This is important. I'm going to skip this setting for now, and we're going to go to fill density. This percentage right here is this yellow that you're seeing in fill, and it does come in a grid. This is useful because it acts sort of like an interior support structure. If I change this down lower, you'll see that it's not nearly as dense on the inside. In fact, we only have one line. That's why layer views is really useful. You can kind of see exactly how the interior of your print job is going. And with this one little line, is it actually going to close properly when I get to the top of the print? In this particular situation, I could actually print this thing hollow and it would probably do just fine. But if you were printing something like a box, obviously that would be a lot more of an issue. So I'm going to put this back to 20%. My recommendation would be to hang out somewhere between 20 and 30%. Once you start going into higher numbers than that, let me go ahead and switch this to 50 so you can see. This is getting very excessive. There's basically no reason to ever do this. You can really speed up your print job by printing it hollow or with less fill density, and then you can fill it with something else such as a resin if you need it to be totally solid. So I would never go above 40%, and you're going to hover somewhere between 20 and 30 as your go-to. So now for that setting that we skipped. Bottom and top thickness is based off of the shells. So let's go back to that setting that we skipped. Bottom, top shell thickness. I keep saying shell. Let's go back to that setting we missed. Let's go back to that setting we skipped. Bottom, top thickness. This is how many layers are going to be laying on top of our infill grid. So if we have one thickness on top, for example, 0.25, only one thin layer of filament would reside on top. That obviously will cause issues because you'll end up with these gaping holes on the top of your print. Usually you want to hang out for a lot more. This number is based off of how thick your layer height is. So right now we have 0.8, and if I scroll up, you'll see the yellow become more and more solid, which will make sure that the top of my print doesn't have any gaping holes. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our normal view. So these settings you're not going to need to be changing. They're regard print speed, temperatures for the bed and the nozzle itself. This is focused on the specific type of material that you're using. Right now, these settings are for ABS material. The next section is important, support type. For some models, there are going to be overhangs, and you need to be able to have support structures generating. Otherwise, this print right here would just kind of sag and fall down. Yes, you can get away with some. 45-degree angles work really, really well. But if you want to play it safe, support structure is always a good idea. We have three different options here. We have none, touching the build plate, and everywhere. Touching build plate means the support structure has to have direct eye contact with the ground. Everywhere, it doesn't matter as long as the angle that we specified, which in this case is going to be 45 degrees. There it is. It will generate anywhere that there is more than a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to change this to everywhere. Notice nothing changed, but if I go back over here to normal and I go down to layers, I can now see where my support structures are generating. In this particular case, we don't need support structures. It is trying to generate a little bit of it there, just underneath the chin. However, this print's relatively small, and that might just cause a little bit more pain than pleasure in this situation. The next setting here, platform adhesion type. There's a couple of different options depending on what your print job is like. You'll notice that there's this blue line going around your print job. that is meant for purging the hot end prior to printing. That way there's a lot of easygoing flow. These layers that are going around the print but aren't connected are meant for purging. It gets proper flow through the nozzle before starting your actual print job. Over here under platform adhesion type, if I switch to brim, you'll notice that that switches to touching the print itself. This is to try and prevent warping. You can also think of it as like a foot. So if you had something that was really, really tall, it would kind of help grasp onto the build plate a little bit more. Now, if I switch this setting to raft, you're going to notice the cat is actually up a little bit, and there is thickness between the cat and the build plate itself. Give it a minute to finish loading. Ah, there it is. So there's that thickness in between the build plate and then the cat. This can be really useful for things that have round surfaces on the bottom. Flat, I would recommend just keeping that off. It's a little bit of a waste of material if you don't need it. All right, so once you're happy with your settings and you're satisfactory, the next step is going to be to run the machine and get the machine prepped.
Okay, so the Lulzbot Mini is actually a bit finicky. We've had to make some adjustments, so don't follow anything that you've seen online. Follow this video, otherwise you run the risk of breaking the machine, which is never fun to fix. Let's see here, where should I start? First step is to prep the machine and make sure that it's completely clean before you start anything. Otherwise, the automatic leveling, which I'll discuss in a minute, doesn't work properly, or your print could get messed up, and it's just a whole waste of time. So the materials you'll need to clean the Lulzbot are just some water, acetone, and a few paper towels. The first thing you're going to want to notice is that, I don't know if you can see it in the video. Okay, we need to see the...
Can you wave it off?
Yeah, I did. Extruder.
Oh.
Need to be able to see this guy.
There you go. Okay.
All right, okay. So use acetone and paper towels. You just put a little bit of acetone on the paper towel, not a whole lot. It is flammable, so make sure you don't have anything burning near it. First thing you want to do is, this is called the extruder here. You want to wipe it off with acetone and just clean it really nicely. Be gentle, but you don't have to be too gentle. You want to make sure that any of this plastic that's stuck on here is going to come off properly so that the extruder can properly level the bed. Next thing you want to check is just with water and a paper towel. Look at the bed. It is on glass. There is no PEI sheet. So make sure that there's no leftover glue or residue on the glass. Just take some water and clean it off. Very important when you're cleaning this off, make sure not to get any kind of gunk or glue on these washers. Otherwise, the bed won't level properly. So when you're wiping things off, make sure you wipe off the sides and not onto the washers. Okay. I think that's about it for cleaning. Okay.
Tell them that if you use this, be very gentle.
Okay. If you use the scraper to remove any excess gunk off of the sheet, or
Build plate.
if you use the scraper to remove any excess gunk off the build plate, make sure that you're gentle with it. The bed is very fragile, can get thrown off easily, so don't push too hard. Take your time, don't rush it. Okay. So.
Turn on. When you're talking.
Yeah. Okay. Step one, turn the machine on. And you will be on this side of the machine when you use it, just for clarification. Let's see here. The machine should already be hooked up to the laptop, which already has the Cura software, which was just discussed. You should have your model already loaded onto the computer at this point. So step one, now that your model is loaded and you're ready to print, File, Print will bring up this nice little window. This controls the hardware on the machine. You'll notice that you can move the extruder around by pressing the arrow keys. You can extrude or retract filament, which we'll discuss when we work on changing filament. You can move the extruder up or down, theoretically. There you go. And then the most important thing is this home button in the bottom left here. We'll move everything back where it needs to be to start your print. So you don't need to preheat the Lulzbot at all. All the temperatures are already set up by the settings. So all you need to do is push print. The Lulzbot takes a while to heat up, but very important, before your print happens, it will do an auto leveling. The Lulzbot takes a while to heat up, but before your print starts, it will go through an auto leveling process. During that, the extruder will lower down and check each of the 4 washers. Very important at this step, you have to watch this very closely because our printer is known to not level properly, which causes the extruder to scrape against the glass, or if there is a PEI sheet, for the PEI sheet to burn. And now we'll wait for this to start.
Okay, you didn't say what a PEI sheet was.
Okay.
Do you want to say that?
Yeah. For clarification, a PEI sheet is a sticky sheet that goes on top of the glass. Once again, we don't have it on right now. It just helps the models that you print stick so that the corners don't fold up, but we decided to use glass and glue instead to avoid having to replace it. That was loud. All right, so here's the auto leveling. I'll just stop singing.
When you're talking about the printer, you can actually look straight through the other camera
Oh, good point.
because it can see really well.
Okay. So the printer is first going to adjust itself and clean the extruder, which you should have already done. This is more of a safety mechanism. Now it's going to level the bed. It should just barely touch the washer. If it touches the washer for more than a split second and starts to push the bed down, you need to cancel the print immediately. Once again, very important. Watch and make sure it does not push down too hard. Okay, it looks like it leveled successfully. If it does not level successfully and you have pressed cancel on, it looks like it leveled successfully. If it did not level successfully, make sure you push cancel as soon as possible. The machine will start to cool down. It will cancel the print, clean off the extruder, and try again.
So now we have a long wait, right?
It's heating up.
Yeah, okay.
So
I'm gonna.
that's almost a
Is it
minute
okay?
or two.
I'm stopping the camera.
Does it
That
not
one
show
really
you?
good.
Current and designated temp? Oh, it does.
And this is the. Mhm. It's not very clear. So the printer, oh, no!
Oh, the print. Okay. We're doing it.
So the printer has started, that's done. So you're gonna wanna watch the first couple layers go down. As you notice, it'll print this surrounding layer that was mentioned in the software section. Make sure that it doesn't bunch up to, oh, we forgot. You gotta stop, we forgot the glue. I forgot the glue.
Actually, just the camera.
I'm like, why is
Camera
it
just crashed.
coming up? Well, I guess that was a good time.
Well, it gives us a second go on a,
Okay, the camera app crashed. However, we got 18 minutes of video, so I'm just seeing what the last thing we shot successfully was.
Oh,
So it might be good that, I can't believe it. Who wrote this crappy software?
we can just use that little camera for in the.
Yeah, I think we can, so that's cool, but this is really, okay, right, well, 18 minutes. We've been talking for 18 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, so it did get the whole thing, okay, good. Okay, so we're going back to before you started the print job, right?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know how much
No,
we got.
because we want
Oh,
to
yeah,
make
I was
sure
thinking
our-
we could just,
put the glue on, right?
yeah.
So say before we start, the very last thing we do before printing is applying the adhesive.
Exactly. Okay.
We do have the Lulzbot here. Should we bring that up or?
I think we want to teach people to use the glue stick.
Right.
And then if they're printing pretty intense stuff, they can use that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, can you stand in the same place? So this is starting with, before we start the print, and then are you gonna redo the clicking on the print? Because I'll switch.
Yeah, I can do
Okay,
that.
okay, so we'll go back to that. So we're back in for about 3 minutes.
Wait. This is before the washer level.
This is,
yes.
wait,
Yeah.
wait, no, you already leveled it. Oh,
No. This
you
goes
apply the
first.
glue first.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
you could just edit this back
Got
here,
it.
yes.
Okay, so we'll leave, and we can leave the print part too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on a second, I'm just gonna give a note to myself here. This part goes before the self-leveling.
Since we decided not to use a PEI sheet with this printer, we're using simple glue stick on the glass to make sure that your model sticks to the print surface. All you do is rub the glue stick onto the glass. You don't need a whole bunch, just make sure it covers the area that your model is going to print on. And that's it. All you gotta do is push print. And now we wait.
Yeah. I like-
Maybe it'll level incorrectly. And then we'll get
Oh,
that.
get
That would
an
be-
example of that. We could put a piece of sticky tape on there to show it what happened.
Okay. This one might be dirty. It might not work properly.
Okay.
Wow, the one I worked with isn't
Really? Yeah, I only started doing it a couple months ago, but I'm sure there's something we could do to fix it. I just don't know what that thing is.
Well, we were really bad at cleaning it though.
Yeah, nobody ever cleaned it. Yeah, nobody ever cleaned it. And this little felt thing here is hard plastic.
Oh.
Okay, we're not rolling. Okay.
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop this.
Well, it's gonna start soon.
Yeah, it'll
We
start.
got that on it for when it starts. But with this crashing, we may have to go back to the last time I started it. So I just I want to get it in the can. So, yeah, I haven't shot 20-minute long videos with this before. I was a little worried about it, and apparently it worked, but it did crash. So Right now we're waiting for the bed to heat up. So it came at a perfect
burning
time,
glue.
actually. Mhm.
Good. I tried to open very slowly because I didn't know.
Yeah. You'll know when we're talking.
Hey, look.
Oh.
Starting.
Okay, so the print has just started. You want to make sure you watch the first few layers go down just to see if anything goes wrong. If you walk away, something really bad could happen, the machine could break, so just stay around and, take your time.
Let's talk about things that go wrong.
The most common issue with 3D printing will be losing adhesion to the bed. So it's very important that you do not forget to use the glue stick. Even with the glue stick, things can go wrong. If the auto leveling wasn't correct, then the print could fail. When you're watching for the first layer, you want to make sure that the thickness of the plastic on the build plate remains the same and equal around the entire print job. If you're noticing that one of the corners is a little funky, maybe it looks like the filament's swirly and stringy, or maybe it's so close to the glass that it is crushing it, then stop your print job. At that point, there has been something that has gone wrong with the auto leveling. The larger the print job, the more likely you're going to have working issues. Depending on what type of plastic you're using can also affect this, as well as settings. What kind of filament do you guys use?
ABS, but I think we're going to push PLA.
And PLL. But yeah, actually, can you talk about
Yeah.
PLA is a more biodegradable
Okay, so both.
eco-friendly.
Here at Google's Makerspace, you're going to have two different types of filaments available to you. There's ABS, which is the most popular, and PLA. ABS is the same material as Legos. The pros to this is really great for prototype. It is very strong. The negative side, it does tend to shrink a little bit, which can cause warping off of the bed. Another thing, when you're trying to connect two things as an assembly, that shrinkage can cause a little bit of extra work for you. If it shrunk too much for the connection to fit, we'll have to do some sandpapering. ABS is really good at sandpapering and painting and anything else that you'd like to do to it. It's a very, very easygoing material. PLA is the second most commonly used material. That is a plant-based filament.
It didn't stick to the bed.
Talk about this.
Okay. I don't want it to. I don't want it to clog.
Right.
Right. So this is a quick example of a print gone wrong. As you can see, the model has uprooted itself from the bed, and this will cause the extruder to clog.
So click on.
All you got to do is click cancel, return the printer to the home position, and try and unclog the extruder and clean it off. Yeah, that sounds good.
It's a pretty small model.
Yeah, I printed it before though. Need some extra glue.
Oh wow, you already have the first layer printed up. Oh, actually,
Can you extrude? Make sure it's not clogged.
Okay, wait, actually, can we do that again? Here, stop extruding.
It doesn't stop, it just goes. There
Okay,
you go.
okay. So now, can you say, you're gonna say, can you extrude? I'm gonna change cameras and then you do the click, okay?
All right, can you extrude just to make sure this isn't clogged here?
Sure.
You should see some filament coming out of the extruder if it's not clogged. Okay. Guess let's put more glue down, or maybe we should use the special glue. This is so tiny. How do you get this stuff off? Is it just water soluble?
the glue? Mm-hmm, yeah. It'll turn, oh, that stuff, yeah, both of them will come off with water.
Oh, it's like they made a
Oh,
little
we-
brush or something.
Oh, we don't have the applicator. Shoot, I lost it.
Oh, it smells, does not smell very good.
Have a
Smells like
recording on
cauliflower.
how to clear
Huh?
the extruder, how to,
I think that we should probably say if it's clogged, don't try and fix it. I we should probably say, call
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, if it's completely clogged,
Yeah.
then call someone. Yeah,
Who should they call?
yeah, that's a good question.
Contact the lab coordinators, I guess. Are we?
Oh, yeah, what is it? It's Herb, we should probably have that.
We can put that in the,
Lab
we can put that as a comment on the,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can say, send an email to these people here.
Right. So if the extruder is completely clogged, make sure you contact the lab coordinators and we will come fix the 3D printer. All right, so how am I putting this on here?
Yeah, so,
We have like a little brushy or something?
actually, you know what? We should be able to print this with a glue stick. You don't need to go that
Yeah.
far.
We
It
can mention it as a second option.
Yeah, but I don't have the applicator. Can we just use a paper towel?
More glue. Oh, kind of, it's all melty. It's still hot.
Okay. here we go.
Look at that will work. Sorry.
No worries. Oh, that was important.
Okay, so, switch back. Okay, you want to click on print again?
It's gone.
Oh, you did, okay.
Yep.
Alright, stop.
Yeah, can you even hear us with that mic?
No,
right next to the-
it's just.
Not, we'll have to do some lip syncing.
I'm gonna have to be calling it for vegan.
That's funny. I've actually never had a print do that before until right now.
it's like on cue.
Mhm. Of course, when we want the leveling to have a problem, it works perfectly.
Right? Which means you've been doing a good job keeping it clean.
Yeah.
This camera's actually a great way to look. Yeah, like, these things didn't stick all that hard. You just pulled it right off. It didn't have any scraping or anything.
Well, the extruder pulled it off,
Oh,
wasn't
right,
on
right.
there.
It was over there.
which is weird because I've never had that happen.
One of the machines I'm working with now, like it's just pre-G code. You can change it anytime you want. I really like the way they do it. They just pull it in the corner. So like it's just extruding straight into the plate, going like
just
around
like-
around the nozzle, but that cleans the nozzle, and then you
Oh,
just
that's
it moves
cool.
over, and it hasn't failed on me once yet.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just squirting the air would be a good way to clean it too. When it's making spaghetti.
Yeah, the only problem is that then that drags it to the center of the build plate.
Right. You
And
want to
that's-
break it off. I have seen it come in on right on the edge to try to break that piece off. It just
Yeah.
has that little scrub foot on it.
See how it's pulling it?
Yeah.
That's because of that little extra bit of debris that's on the tip of the nozzle.
I wonder if I can just.
It looks like it might recover. There it is. So that's another use for the skirt.
Yeah.
I see that. See that louder.
If you'll notice that there's a chunk of the material hanging out on the skirt, which is those circles that are around the original part. Think of it as a way of protecting the original print job for any, what's that word? Formalities? No. Abnormalities?
Oh, abnormalities in the plate?
Abnormalities? No. Anomalies.
Anomalies.
That's the one. Notice how in the skirt of this print, there is a little bit of a chunk of material. That's throwaway material, so we're not worried about it. And another good thing about it is it's not on our original print. So the anomaly is not something that we have to worry about interacting with the print job and possibly causing the nozzle tip to clog.
Are you talking, looking at that?
I was.
Okay.
That's not what you said for the permission. Oh, yeah, who goes on?
So you want me to go back to the filament?
Yeah, right. No, this would be a good time to, oh, let me get the microphone closer. Even farther away from there. It's, I think it's. Oh. Yeah, I guess we can put it in scene. Nah,